I'm Brittany Lewis with Forbes Breaking News. At last Wednesday's House Judiciary Committee hearing, Republican Congressman Chip Roy and Jim Jordan demanded to know how gun control activist David Hogg and a film crew from The Late Show got into the congressional buildings. Decrying, quote, chaos across the United States and in the halls of Congress, the Republicans were incensed that Democrats had yet to provide the information and the footage of the groups coming into federal legislative committees and halls. Earlier, David Hogg had interrupted a hearing and had to be escorted out, and the film crew on Stephen Colbert's CBS Late Show was arrested in the House building. None were ultimately charged with wrongdoing.
Case,
Go ahead, Dan. So, if the gentleman, and I appreciate him
yes,
yielding, I mean, on that point, in terms of order and talking about this proceeding being interrupted, and clearly a political individual clearly got in here on purpose. I mean, there's zero question about that, but there's no indication that the majority cares a whit about.
Would the gentleman yield?
Happen. I'll yield brief. It's not my time to yield.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. So, but let me just finish on that point. But clearly a political individual, clearly purposely led into the building. And we're talking about, my colleagues bring up January 6th. My friend from Utah appropriately says that was chaos and that is a problem as well. And we're all concerned about that. But we're the House Judiciary Committee. We have not had a single hearing, to the best of my knowledge, about Americans incarcerated as a result of January 6th, the conditions in which they're held, the results of some of them committing suicide or dying, and some of the concerns that have been raised, conditions that have been made public that they're held under, the charges that they face, why that those charges were applied, whether those charges are applied equally. And look, let me be clear, and I said on the floor of the House, I prosecute to the fullest extent of the law those who violated the law. But there are real questions. How can the House Judiciary Committee not have a hearing about incarcerated Americans that are sitting in prison across this country? I mean, I just, for the life of me, my colleagues keep bringing up January 6th. Well, then let's bring in the Department of Justice and let's walk through it. Let's understand it. You know, we've got some of my colleagues, like the gentleman from Texas, Mr. Colbert, and others that have gone down to the jails here in D.C. People that are really hurting and suffering, according to some of the stories that we see. And the ranking member is simply asking to know, how did that guy get into our proceeding? We ought to know. I think we ought to know. I yield back to the gentleman from Utah.
thank you.
Yeah, how did he get in? I think the gentleman for yielding, just like how did the folks from the Colbert Show get in? Somebody let him in. Somebody let him in. Imagine that. And the gentleman's was so, but both were so on target. The chaos that is unfolding in every one of our urban areas as we speak, the violence that's out of control, the chaos in the summer of 2020, the chaos at 50 pro-life pregnancy centers and churches over the last 12 weeks, the chaos in front of Supreme Court justices' homes for weeks, and the Speaker of the House waited 4 weeks to get protection to their families. And we asked a simple question: how did the guy get in here? I bet there's videotape that the chairman of the House Administration Committee can look at and figure out who met the individual at the door and escorted him in. We'd like to know that.
Sergeant Schultz knows nothing.
Gentleman's time is